I had the opportunity to work with a lot of different people in the military, enlisted, officers, Army, Navy, Marine, and Air Force. One thing I found was generally the higher the rank, the better the officer. So I'm offering up this story with my encounter with a colonel and a sergeant. As a Seabee assigned to Public Works, we had duty hours from 7 to 4 Monday through Saturday, and short of having to take a watch or work in an emergency, we generally had evenings and Sundays off. My living quarters were located just off my shop, and the phone was ringing itself off the hook one Sunday morning. Irritated that the call hadn't gone through the front office, I staggered from my bed to answer it, and was promptly informed that a couple of enlisted over at Army encampment had gotten into a fight, and one of them was thrown through the colonel's door, and I should to get someone over there right away. Rather than screw up one of my GI's day off, I decided to handle it myself. When I pulled up to the colonel's office, I was amazed to find all that was left of the door was the top rail and the hinge style. I took measurements, went back to the shop, and cut a piece of plywood to fit. Drove back and proceeded to nail up the plywood on what was left of the door. This is when the sergeant went into his first rant, and I had to explain to him that we didn't just pull a ready-made door out of stock, but that one would have to be built, and because the glues had to dry, he wouldn't be seeing a door until Tuesday. Tuesday came, and because I had all of my GIs taking out crews, I opted to take the Vietnamese inside shop crew over myself. When we arrived at the colonel's office, I found the sergeant still in a very ugly mood, which I chose to ignore. I directed my workers to put in the door, and while they were working, the sergeant came over to one of my workers and gave him a shove. I responded by jumping in between them and told the sergeant that he was not to touch my workers. We got the door in, and my workers were proceeding to install a doorknob. Side note here, the original door's doorknob had the lock in it, but there wasn't one available, but we were going to install a deadbolt lock in addition to the doorknob. The sergeant went off again and started screaming that the door wasn't any good if he couldn't lock it up, and that I might as well wall it up. I tried to explain to him that we were going to install a deadbolt, but he went into a full-blown rant and just kept screaming at me to wall it up. Then he kicked one of my Vietnamese workers who was kneeling to put in the doorknob. Big mistake. I motioned my workers out to the truck and grabbed a hammer and some 16-penny nails and nailed that damn door shut. Drove back to my shop and was sitting in my office cooling off when the phone rang. It was the colonel asking me if I just had one of my men over there fixing his door. I told him no, that it was me personally. His tone of voice changed and he said, "Oh, is there a problem?" I told him that there wasn't a problem, as the sergeant in his front office didn't care for our workmanship and that he wanted it walled up, so I obliged him. The colonel told me that he'd speak to the sergeant, but he needed a favor. I said sure and asked him what he needed. He said, "Would you come back over here and let us out?" What? You don't have a back door. I tore on over there, and the whole time I'm apologizing and the sergeant is apologizing, the colonel is standing there laughing.